Hello and welcome back. I'm Leslie and this is Katie.
Hello.
And normally we are We the Parents. Today we're going to do this special report on Mountaintop Media together. But we are bringing back a guest that we've had on before. We have Sam with yournews.com. And he has just this platform that I think is so cool. It does video, it does articles, and it's everywhere. And it's completely nonpartisan, not like mainstream media. And just the way that they've set this up is really, really cool. I think it's definitely the future of news and information. And so, Sam, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. I'm very glad to be here.
So, Sam, since we talked last, you have grown your army of citizen journalists. Can you tell our audience a little bit? I mean, I think they're familiar a little bit with citizen journalists. We have some here in Reading, but a lot of them go to Substack and, other online blog post sites. Can you tell us a little bit about what a citizen journalist is and how, if they want to do that, they can get involved with your platform?
Sure. So citizen journalists are, people in the community that want to report news. The old guard obviously is going the way of the dinosaur. And, now due to technology like YouTube or Rumble, you guys could be broadcasters. I'm going to guess that you've never worked for CBS, ABC, NBC, or Fox. Am I correct in saying that?
What?
But now you're a broadcaster, right? It's because the technology that Rumble or YouTube provides allows you to be a broadcaster. So the technology that we provide is we allow people to become news reporters on a local level. So what we are is a platform that would look like the LA Times or the Miami Herald or the Chicago Tribune, because they all look similar. We're in every city in the United States, and we can distribute news to a city, to a county, to a market, state, regional, or national, and then by specific categories. So, for example, your kid's Little League game is not national news, it's sports news for that city. Whereas the high school football game is going to be sports news for the market, and the markets are defined the same way they define television DMAs, the marketplace for TV. And then obviously the Monday Night Football game is national news, still sports, but it gets distributed to every zip code in the United States. So what we are, like every news outlet on planet Earth, is we're an information aggregator with massive scale. And we're bringing all the country's information under one umbrella and creating one uniform media. Hope that made sense.
It made perfect sense to me. Do you understand what's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that sounds really great. One thing that we've struggled with is getting canceled from YouTube. I struggle with the mass amounts of ads on Rumble.
Right.
We got a lot of subscribers on our Substack, but it is so pieced out, and it's hard to come together for one cohesive thing. So I see a need for this very much so. But where do you stand on free speech and things like that? Of course, that's a concern.
Of course. This is, the power of this platform is putting the power of the press in the hands of the people. That's the whole premise of the product. So I don't care if I disagree with your opinion. We're still going to run it, right? What I don't want is completely false information.
Right.
So we live in a world right now of centralized news. Now it's all changing, but everybody's seeing the Sinclair Broadcasting with the 50 TV saying the same thing at the same time. Well, obviously somebody from corporate sent that to the local markets and somebody was reading it off a teleprompter. Okay, so that's called centralized news. What we do, because we're completely decentralized in the media industry, and then we democratize who gets to say it. So we allow everybody to be able to have a voice and be heard. The content that comes in, normally if you work for a news organization, when you produce content, it goes to the editor takes it to a review board, and they ultimately make the decision on whether that article gets published as is. They can also change it and can completely change the story to the opposite of what you wrote it because you work for them. In our case, there's no filter. So the content creators are the They're the journalist, they're the editor, they're the review board. So whatever they say goes. If they say this is a good story, it runs. We're not here to fact check anything. The only thing we do is if somebody submits an article, we trust that you have honesty and integrity. And if you don't, somebody's going to let us know. The public will let us know you're lying and we'll get rid of you. But the only thing we check for is to make sure, number one, nobody's putting in any dirty pictures. Number two, we want to make sure that the content is going to the proper subject and the proper geography. So what I don't want to see is a football game going to politics.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. And, you know, you don't want to see our fight with our local elected official running in Philadelphia where they have no clue who these people are, right? So I
Totally.
appreciate that geographic editing and, you know, what do you call that? Safeguard. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and when people sign up, you know, they get assigned to a geography. So normally people are producing content that's relevant to their geography 99% of the time. But then there's some people that are just they're news reporters and they'll be looking for stuff and scouring stuff over the internet and they'll start writing articles. So we just have to make sure we put them in the proper area, which could be national news.
Right.
It just depends on what it is.
And we have that, one of our local Substacks, they, you know, cover mostly, you know, here's what's going on at your board of supervisors. Here's what's going on here. Here's what's going on. And then they'll do something about, you know, gas prices across the country or, you know, Trump's tariff thing. And, you know, obviously that would be something that applies to everybody and would go everywhere. And so it's cool that you as a writer here in Shasta County, and I'm talking to all of you who blog posts and Citizen Journal on your own, because I know we have a lot. We have a very crazy media market here that is extremely left leaning. And so we've had a lot of people who have kind of branched out on their own and done this, which is why I wanted to have Sam on the first time. And again, now, so that people know that that outlet's available to them, because we have people who do great research and say great things and do great things and nobody reads it. Where if it made national news on Sam's page, yournews.com, then everybody can see it and it broadens their market.
So you have a lot of people interested in this, huh?
Well, I'm going to tell you, there is on LinkedIn Navigator, I do a small amount of marketing on there just to bring on content creators. There's almost 500,000 people that are now calling themselves freelancers. The exact number is 480, I think it is, 480,000 people. Those are people that are part of the downsizing of the legacy media, people that work for radio, TV stations, you know, maybe local newspapers, and, you know, they're all displaced. They have nowhere to go. In addition, there's almost a couple 100,000 students on LinkedIn that are looking for work. And guys, nobody's hiring these people. So, you know,
Right.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't need to tell you this. The legacy media is not going to survive. It has nothing to do with them lying. Everybody's like, oh, they were lying, so we don't trust them, so they're going. No, it has nothing to do with it. They've been lying for 50 years. Okay. What it is the way people consume information has changed. And so you have
Right.
the average age of the cable news viewer being 72 years old. Do I need to tell you how old the average person lives to? Okay. I mean, you're talking 77, 76, 78, in that range, maybe 80 for women. The point is do the math. Okay.
Right.
And if you ever notice, if you're ever watching cable news, who are the biggest advertisers? They're all the pharmaceutical companies. Want to know why? It's their market. Okay, that's their audience. But the younger generation is getting information in other places. It doesn't matter if it's on Rumble or Substack or TikTok or Instagram. I mean, there's choices. So when I was growing up, we had literally 4 channels, guys. 4. Okay, there was no such thing as a remote control. I was the remote control for the family. I would
Right.
get up and have to change the channel. Okay, but today there's literally millions of content creators, and you can't watch it all. And honestly, I think that's why people watch these TikTok videos or these short little clips of news so they could gather all the information, because due to the internet, you know, we have now access in real time to so much stuff that you could only absorb so much. You know, there's a lot of good shows. I mean, maybe you like Joe Rogan, maybe you don't. Maybe you like Tucker Carlson, maybe you don't. You realize Joe Rogan does a 3-hour show. Who the hell has time to watch this?
Right.
Okay. And how many can you watch? Because if you're watching one an hour, there's 24 hours, right? Well, Joe takes up 3 of them. So
Right.
you're limited to what you can watch. And so there's a lot of options out there. So the legacy media is not going to survive. I can tell you with certainty what will replace it. It will be platforms. And for news, it will be hyper local news platform or platforms where you can drill down to the local and you could do anything from your kid's little league game to the high school football game to the bank robbery to the car crash, while all the national state stuff flows in and all the national stuff flows in. So on my platform, we get probably 500 articles submissions a day from news reporters, and I have 5,000 news reporters. So they're not all of them right every day, but some days are heavier than others, and it just keeps expanding and growing. But this content, some of it could be state news in Missouri, political. Some could be state news in California. We get an absolute boatload. I get a lot of local stuff in, the Washington, Oregon market. Guys, Wisconsin, Illinois, Florida, it's everywhere. So we get all this content coming in on a daily basis, and it gets distributed to the proper subject and geography. So as we expand and grow, our model works very similar to Facebook or X. It's the content that drives the readership. So the way my product works is if somebody posts their kid's Little League game, I guarantee you grandma and grandpa will see that story because it's going on Facebook. All of my content creators, they submit articles to me, and then it all gets shared on social media, not because they like me, it's self-serving to them. So what I am is Facebook for news, if you will. And the magic formula to any social site is content equals readership. So once you've aggregated all the content, the game's over. I'm in the process of bringing on content creators, news reporters, simply because that's my model. But the more content creators you bring on, it just keeps rising higher and higher, the traffic. And that's what this is all about, because that's what attracts the ad revenue. And keep in mind, the legacy media is not going to survive. So you guys are familiar with YouTube and how they have a monetization model, where the next generation news platform is going to be like what we have. Like we have a monetization model for content creators. So I don't care if you're somebody that does something national or you're somebody that does something on a hyper local level. So the key to this is build your social media following with people that like your content. We're just distribution and monetization. So the news reporters ultimately are really their own brands. We're just distribution and monetization. I could have 1 million of you.
Right. And I like that because it doesn't create competition. You're not like, oh, I'm a citizen journalist, but I don't want to go there because this citizen journalist is there. It's not a competition. It's a platform that allows all of it to be there. And then the people, based on what they want and what they like, can go to one place and scroll through all of it. And it's that same format because you're right. That's where people get their news. They sit there on their phone and they, scroll through. And so when you take it and you put it on their level, maybe people will start paying attention to news. I know I get frustrated. Yesterday, I was in a board meeting all day. I had my daughter with me. It was chaos. So other than responding to text messages, I didn't look at my phone. I wasn't on social media. I wasn't scrolling anything. I hadn't looked at it. So I answered a text message and they were like, hey, did you see the news? And I was like, oh no, what news, right? And so I go on there to look, and it was Taylor Swift got engaged. Who cares? But it took me all of half a second to find that, right? But then we were screaming about a super harmful bill that affects parental rights in our kids for months, screaming. Our hair is on fire. And then it took some viral video of a pastor talking about it. And all of a sudden, 3 months later, everybody is up in arms and we have this huge event. And it was great. But my frustration stems from the fact that people get their news like this and they only care about, we know when Taylor Swift got engaged to the minute, what she was wearing, what she was doing, but they can't tell me who their legislators are, who their local council members are, who's on their school board. That's my frustration. So if in the middle of their scrolling through, some celebrity did something stupid, they learned something about local government, I'm all for it.
Well, I got news for you. This is why we're in the mess we're in today. It's because you should be caring about different things. And, I remember, back in the 80s, money was falling off trees. It was like the easiest thing in the world to make. And, with all the regulations, nobody was paying attention because everybody was making a fortune. The regulators figured out how to regulate everything to travel, to flow right to their buddies in big business. So it's the same thing. It's, all smoke and mirrors. I mean, I agree with you. I really don't care about Taylor Swift's engagement. It says, it doesn't matter to me. I did see something briefly on it, and I said the exact same thing you said. Who cares? But this is the bread and circuses they give everybody, right? I mean,
Right.
it's an absolute ding-a-ling that millions of people actually give a crap about. And she doesn't give a crap about them at all. So
Right.
there you go.
Yeah. I feel the same way about sports. Like, as soon as I gave up on professional sports and I started cheering on politics, when my team wins, everybody wins, right? So I'm like, I was very easy for me. And I was a big basketball person. So it was very easy for me to be like, professional sports, who cares? But, that's me. So you have this awesome platform. People can get involved as a citizen journalist, but because it is a new thing and it's growing, tell us a little bit about how people can get involved, because we're in crazy times and people are always looking, how do I diversify things? How do I invest? How do I, make my money make money? How can people jump on board with what you're doing at an investment level?
Well, I mean, first of all, do you want me to actually show you, or do you want me just to tell you? I could do a share screen or not.
Yeah,
It's up to
I
you.
think if you did a share screen, that would be.
All right, let me see. Okay, perfect. So mine opens up to Palm City, Florida. That's where I'm at. Okay, and as you can see, it looks like a news website. The difference is not only do we do national news, we do local news everywhere. Okay, that's the cool part. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page. For people who want to be a citizen journalist and report news and get paid on it, they click this. There's a couple of short videos you could watch, and then they fill out this Become a Citizen Journalist application. It takes 2 minutes. It comes into us. Once it gets approved, you get an email notification with instructions on how to use your dashboard. It's simple, stupid. We have thousands of content creators. The number is actually 5,100 and growing. So I'll get that to probably 8 or 10,000 by the end of the year, which is a lot of freaking people. Secondly, we are doing an offering. My company is, my plan is to take this public in the next couple of years. We're the only player in our space. There's something that says invest here. And if you click invest, it takes you to Nico Ventures. This is what's called an equity crowd fund. So it's different, which I'll explain. It's still run through a brokerage firm. This is owned by North Capital Partners, but it tells you, what the offering is. You can see that, $100 million minimum, I'm sorry, 100,000 minimum, $200 minimum investment, $2 per share. It tells you when the offering is over. So I got about 10 months. And then here's the amount of capital that's been brought in so far. I could also take stuff in without the platform, which, I could talk about, but this tells you everything we're doing. It's basically your business plan on a page. And if people like it, they can click here and they can make an investment. Now, I'm going to get out of this for a minute because I want to explain this to you guys. So when my background is capital raising, investment banking. So when you do something called a private placement, and we'll use Facebook and Amazon and eBay and Netflix and Uber and all those companies went through Silicon Valley. So they all started out as private companies before they went public. When you buy a private placement, you have to be an accredited investor, which basically means 1% of the population can buy. And this is why none of us got calls from Silicon Valley saying, do you want to buy some Facebook stock for $1 or some Twitter stock for $1 or $2, right? It all goes to the institutional players. They fund them with big money, and then they scale them out, and then they take them public, and you get to get in when it's $30, $40, or $50. What we're doing is we're doing something called an equity crowd fund, which means you don't have to be an accredited investor. It just limits your investment. So you could still buy as an accredited investor. You just have to put in your income and your net worth, and that limits your investment. So if you don't put in your income or net worth, they consider you the lowest level. The most you could put in is like a couple grand. And and they'll cut you off even if you make $1 million a year. You're going to have to report it in order to do it. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because we're a news organization that is, our whole platform is, we're a news organization that's by the people, for the people. Well, the reason we're in the mess we're in today is because of the media. I mean, that's the reason. And, back in the 80s, there was over 500 independent news outlets. Guys, there's 6. Okay, there's 6. They were all rolled up, and now that's why you see the Sinclair News thing where you got 30 or 40 or 50 TV saying the same thing at the same time. It's all controlled from one entity. Right. So at the end of the day, what I don't want is I don't want institutional money in here. If we're going to be a news organization by the people, for the people need to own the product, not the institutional player. So equity crowdfund is the best way to do something like that, because now everybody can participate. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go, and I'm going to go, of course, I'm speaking here. So this round of funding is a small one. I'm raising $1 million. The next one I'm going to do is going to be a $5 million, but it's going to be followed up at a much higher valuation. So the valuation we put on this is you're buying in at a $20 million valuation. The next one is going to be 100. And the next one after that is going to be a public offering. This is already, it's just a matter of when. And so the game plan for that is once I reach 50,000 news reporters, that's when we do it.
That's pretty cool. You're growing. You're getting there.
So
I mean, even since the last time we talked, you've grown. And even since the last time we talked, I think it was like 40 or 50,000 that had been raised, and now you're, at almost 400,000 on that page. So, I mean, that's pretty exciting. So
yeah, and then thank you. And then we have some bigger investors that are coming in, but probably won't go through the platform. Probably direct sent to me. So I could, if I were to just make it up, somebody bought the rest of it and didn't submit it through there, just send it to me. We just close this down and start another one. The platform doesn't care. As long as you're, filling out the proper documents, they're filling out the subscription agreement and, sending in a check. It's all the same. The difference is it saves me 7%. That's what it does. So, that's all. So, I can, so I do have some bigger investors that are going to be putting in some money here shortly, like in the next couple of weeks. So that number is not real. It'll be much more than that.
Well, that's even more exciting.
Yeah.
We understand the whole platform fee thing. So Katie more so than I do, but yeah, we understand. Well, thank you for coming on. How can people reach you? I mean, it's yournews.com. That's where they go, sign up as a citizen journalist. Is there do you guys have a social media following that people should go to? Is everything centralized through there and then goes to social media? What's the best way if people want to get in contact with you or have questions? Is there a contact us on there with questions?
Info or sam@yournews.com. They could reach out to me. We have social media on all the major platforms. I think with the exception of Facebook, because they block all our stuff, so we don't even mess with it anymore. But, we're on X, we're on True Social. Another one, I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. We kind of have a decent presence on Instagram. So we're building, best I can tell you, Katie, any questions for me?
Oh, you did such a good job explaining it. And I really, really love the idea of engaging the people who really care about their communities and getting them access to roll that information out to others. We have things like I've tried Nextdoor, getting attached with my local neighbors on different things, but they block me on there. So I'm excited about this. I think people are going to love this.
What is your zip code?
96003.
So you are, as soon as it loads, in Redding, California, right?
Yes.
So we get a lot of content that's coming out of California. A lot of it's state stuff. Some stuff could be like Orange County or, could be, but the stuff we're bringing in, like I'll show you. Because remember, all of this content is all the content creators on our platform. So if I right now, I'm going to start from the beginning. So here's Reading. And if I do local news top stories, this is going to be the top stories for, it could be the state of California or it could be for Reading. So we can distribute content right down to a specific zip code. Is that San Jose? No, that's not San Jose. Here's. So 91911. So all this content is all coming from outsiders. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So Chula Vista is the San Diego market. That's a national story. But here's Morning Report. Okay, this is local stuff for the local market. San Diego water leader joins Met board. So that doesn't show up in your market. California High-Speed Rail might be. Morning Report, County dips its reserves. This is all San Diego stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if I went to Chicago, it's going to be all Chicago news, completely different. So I'll just do local top stories. So you'll get the gist of it. So this is Chicago teen activist and youth leader shot in robbery, survives a continued fight to change. Chicago man sentenced to 15. All of these news stories are all our news reporters. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. And it's all over the place. So I mean, even in places that I don't even know that I have anything, which I found this one out. This is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I mean, I get tons of stuff here. Yankton County 4-H, that's local. This is what people are interested in.
I love that, the 4-H, yeah.
Yes, so this is the kind of stuff. Sioux City, South Sioux City fire damages garage. It's the local stuff that matters in the community, and that's what this product's all about. But all of ours comes from local news reporters all over the United States. And we get people signing up every single day. When I say people signing up, I did last week we had over 40 news reporters sign up. Over 40. Yeah, so it's growing. The next step is to just continue to scale it and onboard them, in the hundreds and then the thousands. And then, this thing takes on a life of its own. When you're getting 400 or 500 news stories a day, I got to tell you guys, I actually know what's going on before I even see anything in the morning because I wake up and go, holy crap. Right.
Right.
It's all this stuff coming in. The Minneapolis thing with the kids being shot. Mm-hmm. I knew that almost the second it happened.
Oh, and I'm sure you would. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you probably got like 90 different versions of it.
A bunch of them. So I will tell you. So some of them were running in U.S. Some of them are in the Minneapolis market. But yes, because people are reporting on it. So you get a bunch of different things. As some of these people are writing stories that are national in scope with different points of view. That being said, this is people-powered press. This is what it's all about. By the way, this is where it's all going. So the legacy media is going to be gone. You guys are the media now. All we're doing is building technology that's going to enhance what you're doing and allow you to make money off.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for what you're doing.
You're very welcome. And listen, you guys are the people that are doing it all. Even on a local level, what you're doing is what matters most to the community that you're in, right? I mean, so you guys are out there reporting the news. Just leverage me for distribution.
And I will. So your homework is to stay on top of that and make sure that I do it.
I'm going to send you that link. All you got to do is click it, fill it out. It takes 2 minutes. You'll be activated.
We'll get her in on it.
We're in. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, for coming on again. And I'm sure we will have you at the next stage of your progress. And I'm sure our viewers will start seeing your stuff all over because hopefully some of our other citizen journalists sign up and then you'll be able to see Mountaintop Media stuff on yournews.com.